Hello, everybody. I've started the stream a little bit early because I want to give people time to filter in. But if you're watching this on the watch back, then this is going to seem like a really slow intro. So I just want to say hi to everyone in chat. I'm not going to be able to interact too much, but if you have something that I get wrong, please do an @glasshalfdead. And hopefully at some point, oh no, it's gone live. I started the stream a little bit early because I want to give people time to filter in. I don't even know where that's coming from. Watching this on the watch back. There you go, I got it. Nice. Okay. I knew that was going to happen. I had 2 of them open. I only got 1. Yes, I think that's fair, everyone. A triangle hello, because it's a live stream and I don't have access to my thing there. So, that's probably enough time. Let me tell you what this video is going to be. Finally, we have the GW FAQ. Although it's not an FAQ, it's an errata and a designer's commentary. We're going to go over the errata first because I'm hoping that's going to be nice and quick, right? Because this video could drag out into multiple hours. And I say no, because there's a fuel crisis on. In this economy, we can't do that, you know? Let's just power through, okay? Let's do it. Hopefully, the erratas are going to be nice and simple, and then I know that the designer's commentary gets into line of sight, and I am going to do my absolute best to like actually explain it without going wrong. Okay, let's do it. Let's. Also, I assume that everybody's already read this. I'm going to read it all to you word for word, then say a little bit about, oh, this is what it means. Let's do it. Let's do it. So I'm starting with the Veteran Guardsman, then I'm doing the Commandos, then I'm doing the core rules for the erratas. Then I'm doing the Compendium Errata as well. Then we're doing the Compendium Designer's Commentary, then finally the core rules, because they're the one that I know I'm going to mess up on a lot, and I assume most people won't stay around for that, so I'm hoping most people won't see me mess up. He says, and then messes up immediately. Okay, let's do it. Right. Veteran Guardsman, an errata. Guardsman orders. Add the following sentence. If more than one Guardsman order could be issued by your kill team during the turning point, e.g. the inspirational leadership tactical ploy, they must be different Guardsman orders. This is done, presumably, I'm guessing, to stop them from using things like, for example, move twice, allowing them to get +2 triangle to their move instead of just +1. Makes sense. Just all of these erratas are just going to be standard clarifications, I believe. Tactical ploys in Death Atonement. So this is the same thing, and I'm going to say it now so that I don't have to say it again, as only in Death Does Duty End. They work the same way. They've added this to that rule. The operative is not removed from the kill zone until the end of your next activation, or the end of the battle, whichever comes first, and does not count as being injured. This means that when you get to the end of the battle, your model will be removed from the board before you do your final round of scoring. You know, so you won't have an extra body on the board scoring you an objective. Nice and simple. Sergeant Veteran Plasma Pistol, 3-up Ballistic Skill, Confidant Veteran, Ballistic... Oh, I just want to throw it out there, guys. It is Confidant Veteran, not Confident Veteran. It's not some weird joke, like he's just very confident. He is a confidant of the leader. Just throwing that out there. Ballistic Skill characteristic to 4-up. Demolition Veteran Detonatability. They've added the line, and not obscured, to this. So when making those shooting attacks, each operative is treated as being visible and not obscured. But when determining if it is in cover, treat this operative's mind token as the active operative. I'm going to be honest, I'd have to read the rest of this. I believe this is basically just saying that on the off chance you can hit someone that's 2 inches away from heavy terrain, it still hits them. There you go. And then Medic Veteran Medic ability adds the word another to their ruling. So all that means is that they can't, if they're killed, stim shot themselves in the heart to keep themselves going for the rest of the battle, getting themselves D3 wounds. Has to be another model, not themselves. Can't use themselves. Easy. Easy. Okay. Right. I think that was comfortable. I don't think I messed up yet. He says. Maybe I did. Commandos. Commando Breacher Boy, Breacher Ram. Change the brutal rule from a critical hit rule to a special rule. Yep. So my understanding is that brutal cannot be a critical hit rule because of the way it's worded. So this is really just correcting the way that it works. I might be wrong on that. I think I'm wrong on that. Doesn't matter. Either way, that's what they've done. Commando Breach Boy Ball Charge ability. They've added the phrase, it's breach around against the stun critical hit rule for that combat. Okay, cool. Commando Knob. It can be a leader. This was obvious that this was intended. They just missed a word. Smoke Grenade. Oh, man, we need to stop and talk about Smoke Grenade. We're going to do it here so that we don't have to do it later because this does come up again very soon. Until the end of the turning point, an operative is obscured if every cover line drawn to it crosses an area of smoke. The way smoke grenades work, they're a very finicky thing, is that it used to be the case where the way it was worded, you could have part of your base sticking outside of the smoke, and officially you could shoot at the enemy and they couldn't shoot at you. It's possible that was intended and a balance thing. I don't think it worked well with commandos. I think that made them too strong, but I think it worked quite well, arguably, with Marines because they kind of needed that help. Either way, they've removed that now. Being within a smoke grenade, you can't have any of your base outside of the smoke grenade, otherwise you don't get obscured. Doesn't work. Okay. Oh, we're powering through these guys. Let's do it. Okay. Right, core rules. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, okay, there's only 4 changes. Let's see how long it takes me to explain drop to you, right? Line of sight. Oh, there's a line of sight one. Okay. The intended target is within 1 inch of a point at which a cover line crosses another operative's base, unless that operative is not itself in the active operative's line of sight, or a terrain feature that provides cover. So before I started this, I sat down and reread this rule about 10 times so that I can explain to you what it means. This is, very simply, removing the ability to daisy chain your models. Okay? That's it. Do you need me to explain why it's worded the way it is? It does make sense, but I don't think you need me to explain it. But I'm going to. Let's give it a go. Okay, so basically, at the moment, let's say you're the active operative, the guy that's making the shot. You want to shoot at 2 models. One of them is on a conceal order and behind light terrain, light cover, so you cannot shoot that model. The way daisy chaining worked is you could then have another model behind, hidden by that obscured operative. Okay? And that was fine. That was how it was worded. But now, because that concealed operative is not in your line of sight, because he's not eligible to be shot, not in your line of sight, he does not provide cover to the operative that you then could shoot. There you go. There you go. That is it. My gosh, I think I managed it. Terrain traits, scalable. Scalable. This trait can be applied to terrain features more than 2 circle tool. Each time an operative climbs this terrain feature, the final incremental distance of less than circle is ignored instead of being rounded up to circle. This means, to be super simple about it, you can climb a 6-inch piece of terrain. They don't have any 6-inch pieces of terrain. A 5-inch piece of terrain. That's what all of GW's tool terrain is. You can climb a 5-inch piece of terrain for the same amount of movement as you can climb their 3-inch piece of terrain. There you go. You're just ignoring that top. Cool. Drop. I'm not going to read drop to you. It's too long. You can dash when you drop to finish the move. I'm moving on. Shadow operations. So this is in the mission packs. This is the narrative shadow ops thing. If you score 3 or more victory points from security or infiltration tackles during this battle, you get 1 additional requisition point. I assume that's needed to be pointed out. I haven't played any shadow ops, so I can't really say. Okay, Compendium Errata. Now, this looks like a lot, but it's not. We're okay. There's actually only, this is all easy stuff, I think. So, Tactical Marine Sergeant Combi Melter, they've added the Mortal Wound 4 rule. Nice. That's expected. Smoke Grenade. I've already covered Smoke Grenade. I don't need to cover it again. Tactical Ploy is only in Death Does Duty End. This is what I said back when we were looking at the Veteran Guard. I don't need to cover this again. Cool. Basically, if you use only Death Does Duty End, your model is removed from the board before you score the final turn. Imperial Guard, Guardsman, Gunner characteristics. The Gunner has a 5-up save. We all knew this. You know, these are the easy things. Tempesta Scion Comms, Weapon Skill, 3-up. Tempesta Power Fist gets the Brutal keyword, special rule. So that was actually one I wasn't sure about, because I thought maybe if you think about how it works in 40k, this is the only Power Fist you can have on a Strength 3 model. So perhaps that wasn't enough to give it the Brutal special rule. That was my thinking there. But they've said, nope, all Power Fists, Brutal. Cool. Strategic Ploys, Guardsman Order. Okay, we've got to pay attention to this one, guys, because I've been told heavily by my Discord that that I have to point this out, okay? All friendly Tempestus Scion operatives, comma, and all friendly Guardsman operatives within read of and visible to a friendly Imperial Guard leader operative are issued that Guardsman order. Okay? Cool. This has had two effects. Firstly, this means that all Scions, Tempestus Scions on the board, get the order. They, because of the comma, do not need to be within red of the Imperial Guard leader issuing the order. Nice. And likewise, they have now made Imperial Guard leader operative the word instead of... before it was the Imperial Guard leader. No, that's exactly what they put there. I don't know what they're called. I'm blanking. But basically, this way, the Imperial Guard leader is both on the Scion leader and the regular infantryman leader. So you can have either of them as your leader, and they give orders to everybody else. Nice. So that's good. Okay. Ecclesiarchy. Your kill team, not fire team, kill team, can only include up to one Battle Sister icon bearer. Nice. Cool. Talons of the Emperor. No, hold on. We'll read that one last. Okay. Death Guard. For the Plague Queen champion, change the M characteristic to 2 circle. Now, this was... I didn't know where they were going to go with this one, except for the Plague Bell. The bell thing that allows you to move further. I thought... I don't know if that applied to the model that had it or whatever, but it did seem crazy that you could then have a 4-circle model. That was the only thing that made me think that they might not be like change it to a 3 or a 2 or whatever. Strategic Ploys, Malicious Volleys. A bolt weapon is a ranged weapon that includes bolts in its name, excluding Doom Bolt, e.g. Inferno Boltgun. Again, I didn't know which way they'd go on that, but no Doom Bolt. Gotcha. Comorite. Change the blast rule from a critical hit to a special rule. I'm going to be honest, I quite liked that the Shredder had, like, that you got something special, like Blast, on a crit, but they changed it. Fair enough. Haywire Grenade Limited. Cool. Necron Warriors, pick between one of the 2 weapons. Drones, pick between one of the 2 weapons. Stealth Battlesuit Chasseret Fusion Blaster, 3-up, instead of the 4-up, which I think it was. Nice. Recon Drone, and Tactical Support Turret, Defense to 3. So I'm actually surprised by the change to 3s. I thought they were meant to be 4s, or at least the turret was, but they weren't. So there you go. And finally, Neophyte Hybrid Trooper, Autogun or Shotgun. Okay, let's do it. Talons of the Emperor. Custodian Guard, Warrior and Custodian Guard Leader characteristics. Change the APL characteristic to 3. Furthermore, Tactical Ploys, Brotherhood of Demigods. Change to read. Use this tactical ploy at the end of the firefight phase. Select one friendly Adeptus Custodes operative to perform one free fight or Overwatch action. This does not count as an activation. Okay. Changing the APL characteristic of Custodes to 3, which was something that I kind of said I didn't like, but they've done it. So there you go. I mean, they needed a nerf. This is where they went with it. So be it. Right? Okay. Cool. I wish they could have done it in another way, but I'm not a game designer. I don't know how else they could have done it, to be honest with you. This, I assume, like, I haven't been playtesting Custodes at 3 APL at all, or with any changes to Brotherhood of Demigods. So there you go. It is what it is. Right. Okay. Yeah. The change to Brotherhood of Demigods, it just completely changes that tactic, that ploy. It's completely different. So fair enough. Cool. It's 1-3 fight or Overwatch action. It seems like a solid change to a tactic that completely broke the game. Nice. Again, in my mind, this kind of, I mean, maybe it's not, but I get the impression that they had possibly tested this ploy without realizing, and that thing you do when you're completely insular and you're like, oh yeah, you can do an extra action. Of course you're going to fight or shoot with it, obviously. And then because like the designer said that to the playtesters, they just knew, oh yeah, that's how it works. You do an extra fight or shoot, without reading into just how crazy overpowered it was and that you could move twice or charge twice, etc. So this seems like, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but this seems like the change it was supposed to be. Cool. And that's the Compendium Errata, which takes us to the Compendium Designer's Commentary. Oh, I haven't zoomed in on this one. How zoomed in do we want to be? 1 out. There you go. We better do it on... Oh, I've already done it on that one. Okay. So the Craft World. Comorite and Craft World, actually. Sorry. When using the Fleet Strategic Ploy, how does the Operative perform a dash action with a normal move or fullback action? It can perform the normal move or fullback action immediately followed by a dash action, or vice versa. I suppose I will quickly point out, obviously we've just been over the errata. The designer commentary is now something else. This is them telling us how the rule is played. So what we might get things here where some of the more advanced players will say, yeah, obviously, why are they telling us this? But then we get some other players that say, whoa, what are you talking about? That's not how it works. And of course, this is just that middle ground sort of, where it's like, we don't need to change the wording, but we acknowledge that it's confusing enough that we need to clarify. So, it can perform the normal move or fullback action immediately followed by a dash, or vice versa. So you can dash and then blah, blah, blah. Heavy weapon platform, can't Overwatch. There you go. Truth. How does the second bullet point of the Prismatic Blur strategic ploy interact with the brutal special rule? If the operative is forced to parry as a result of the 4+, the brutal special rule will have no effect. The operative can parry with normal hits in that instance. Cool. Prismatic Blur is really strong. I'm surprised they haven't... But, like, this isn't a balanced patch. They did that with the errata on the Custodes. This is just them telling you how the things work. So, okay, fine. And then this one, which is something I wouldn't have guessed from the wording, but it is what it is, right? Anyway, that's the stealth. So when using the standard fire tactical ploy, if I select a weapon that has more than one profile, can I still select a profile to use even though it isn't a shooting attack? Yes. Most people, when they're reading this, I think knew this, but if you read super deep into the way a shoot and a fight action work, technically when you fight, you don't get the option to pick a stat line, whatever it's called, to select a profile, and therefore, like, super strict raw, or an easy thing to misinterpret is that you cannot select from the profiles. So this means for the Tau, when you're using the Pulse Blaster, technically, you were, or the Iron Rifle, the Rail Rifle, no, the Iron Rifle, not the Rail, you didn't have the ability to change it. So there you go. Now they're just saying, yes, you can do that. How does the Camouflage field ability, Stealth Battlesuit Operatives, interact with the Indirect Special Rule? So Indirect Special Rule comes from primarily grenades, but it can also come from the psychic power that the T-Sun, Thousand Suns have, or, for example, some of the barrage ability from Vet Guard. Other things have it too, but those are the ones off the top of my head. The Camouflage field ability takes precedence. so you cannot hit stealth battlesuits with indirect weapons. There you go. I'm a bit shocked by that, if I'm honest. Thematically, I get it. But I'm shocked. Anyway, okay, cool. Now we get on to the main thing. We've been going 20 minutes. It's okay. It's okay. Let's do this. All right. How's it going, chat? Everybody good? Okay. Okay. Let's do this. Okay. I just want you to know that I am going to get this wrong when I say it live. The only reason I wouldn't have done this live is so that I could say this correctly without messing up. Oh, right. Yeah, okay. Yeah, before I get onto this, let's talk about some other things there. So you say stealth suits should be APL 3. I'd like that, but then I think they'd actually be too strong. I almost think they should have something else done to them. I mean, they're kind of easy to kill because they're low wounds, but 3 APL, they'd be better Marines. So I don't think that really works for them. Heavy Intercessors still 2 APL. I agree. Heavy Intercessors suck, right? Custodes had to be dealt with because they were completely shaping the entire meta of the first month of the game. It was bad. I'm glad that they have had a nerf. I don't know if the nerf was enough. I don't know if it was too much. I haven't played. I haven't tried it. But I'm glad something was done that shows willingness for GW to react. In fact, all of these... Oh, sorry. I should have pointed this out right at the beginning. A thank you to everybody that is in my Discord and that asked some of these questions in my official rules FAQ questions, because that's where almost all of these questions have come from. They came directly from my Discord for like 95% of these rules questions. And it was because as a community, we put everything into one place, and that's where it all came from. And it was easy for the playtesters or whoever to come along to that Discord, take those rules and just throw them at the developer and say, this is what people are asking. Since then, so from now, I have shut down that particular channel in my server. I am now, once I click off of this, I am now going to open up what I consider to be the next wave of FAQ questions. It's going to be called Chownath Official FAQ questions. And that's going to be, it's not specifically questions for Chownath, it's this quarter. It's all questions we have of this quarter's rules. It can be stuff that we feel wasn't adequately answered in the FAQs. It could be from Chownath, it could be from any of the White Dwarfs, it could be stuff we just still don't know and we still have questions for. And that's going to be kind of the FAQ channel for the next 3 months. And hopefully we can get some more of these and this isn't a one-off FAQ. Heavy Intercessors suck, yes. Custodes needed to be nerfed, 100%. But we haven't really started looking at which factions aren't performing. But Marines, they have so many data sheets, and Heavy Intercessors suck. So, okay, and the reason I think, you know, I agree. I don't like to jump to conclusions, okay? I like to take it super slow. But the reason I'm happy to say that Heavy Intercessors suck is because when I think about putting together my own rosters, I'm not putting together a take all comers list. I'm not putting together a fire team. I'm putting together a faction, and I think that's how this game needs to be played. Your roster is the faction. However, when I am playing Marines, I am never taking Heavy Intercessors. So there are fire teams that suck. Okay? There are fire teams that suck, straight up. There's no question about that. But they have use in certain situations, and they are not things that you would never take. Except for Heavy Intercessors. I see no possible point at which you would want to take them. The 2 APL on 4 bodies? Nah. Why would you ever... Yeah, I just can't see it. I mean, sure, they're tanky, but I'd still rather play Custodes. Like, even with the nerf, I would still rather play Custodes. Silent Debate is dead. No, yeah, I think the Silent Debate is dead. Battle Brothers Tabletop, definitely. Only in Death does UTN didn't need that nerf. I think I haven't talked about the nerf yet. Is that in the core rules? Or did I just read it and, like, glossed over it? I'll get to that in a moment. I haven't actually talked about the nerf to Only Death to Duty End, so I assume that I haven't read it yet. But you're right, it's a big hit to Only Death to Duty End, and I don't care about that, but it's a big hit to Marines in general, who are struggling as a faction. I agree, Dev. It's really hard to know what's good and what's not, because of how bad Custodes were. Did you discuss the absence of FAQ of To the Last? I have not, because I don't know what you're talking about. Please tell me. As mentioned earlier, perhaps... Oh, then you're discussing what should we do about heavy intercessors. Fair enough. How long would it take GW to release Marines in a way of mixing stuff like 1K Suns? Yeah, good question. It's odd that we aren't getting Marines. Like, not getting them in, like, I would have assumed they would have been the next thing, right? So, but they're not. So we had the starter box, which was Commandos and Vet Guard. Okay, fine, cool. Then we didn't get them in White Dwarf. And not getting them in White Dwarf is like, okay, they didn't want Marines to be a White Dwarf faction. Fine. But then we've had Chalnath announce, and it's not Marines either. So I'm just a bit shocked. I don't know what they're going to do with Marines at all. It's weird, because Marines need help. So I think they need to speed that up a little bit. I don't know. Yeah. And then people are just continuing to talk about stuff. So that's cool. Marines, obvious White Dwarf faction. I don't know if they do that to Marines, though. I mean, Marines are such a big faction that I would almost assume they would want to give them something big. And even if they don't give them new data sheets, for example, like, or how are they going to fit all of those data sheets into a White Dwarf? It would have to be a bumper issue. Don't know. Yeah, so that's the other thing, Crow's Nest. Oh, Steve Caverness, how did they nerf Custodes? They dropped them to 3 APL, and they changed how Brotherhood of Demigods works. They didn't change Aegis of the Emperor, but after those nerfs, I don't know if you'd need to. We'll have to see how it plays out. Crow's Nest, I wouldn't be surprised if a Black Templar kill team shows up in White Dwarf now that the models are released. I think that's a fair point. I agree. I think a Black Templar kill team would be super cool. So remove it from all the rest of like it doesn't have to be a sub faction. It can be, this is the Black Templar kill team, not you are giving a sub faction ability to normal Marines. Because I think Black Templars do it really well, where they get the neophytes and the initiates, and you can have, you know, one of the Blade Guard. They're not Blade Guard, are they? Blade Master? I don't know. As a leader, I think that'd be super cool. Blade Brethren, Blade Brothers, whatever. Too many B's. So I actually hope that comes out. So anyway, moving on. Right. Okay, guys. Let's do it. Line of sight. If I can just get through this page, the rest is easy. Okay. Hold on. I need a little sip. Need a little sip. Let's do it. Okay. Everybody's favorite topic. When establishing cover lines and determining the point at which they cross terrain features or bases, what are the specific points that you should measure from in particular for determining cover and obscured? A cover answer. Cover and obscured require the operative to be at a certain distance from a point This means it is any point at which a cover line crosses a terrain feature. It does not need to be the closest point. Okay. Okay. In this example, Operative A is not more than circle from the closest point at which the cover line crosses 1. However, it is more than circle from a point at which it crosses 2. Therefore, it is obscured. In this thing, okay, what you have to assume... Okay, alright, how can I do this? Oh, my brain. Basically, the piece of cover that it is crossing, as the cover line enters that piece of cover, if you draw the cover line from there, he is out of your of the range of the 2-inch, so he would be obscured. So if you're already drawing your cover line from where it enters, which is a point, it's not every point, it's not any point, it's a point, then you're fine. However, when you were working this out before, if you were taking your cover lines from where it exited that terrain, then it would be within circle, in which case it would be unobscured. This is just a clarification on where you should be drawing your cover line distances from. This is not a change, it is a clarification. That is the point of the designer's commentary. This makes sense. I get it. As Marty says, thick, heavy terrain. Yes. Cool, cool. Okay, I'm happy with that. I hope everybody else was. Cool. Next thing, right. When establishing cover lines for obscuring, part of an obscuring terrain feature within triangle of the active operative are not treated as obscuring. Okay. Does that mean if the active operative is within triangle of a terrain feature that is obscuring, the whole terrain feature is not treated as obscuring? I think I get this one. Let's keep going. Answer: no. Only the specific parts of the terrain feature within triangle of them are not treated as obscuring. See example in next column. I get this one. Okay, yeah, I get this one. Right. In this example, all parts of the terrain feature within 1 inch within triangle of operative B are not treated as obscuring 1. Okay. However, there are parts of the terrain feature more than triangle from it that are obscuring 2. Therefore, operative A is obscured. Cool. What this basically means is that if you want to fire over a piece of terrain, you kind of need to be hugging it. Again, this depends on the thickness of your terrain. If you're playing with, for example, the Octaves terrain, those walls are actually really thin, so you can be a nice little way off from it. But generally, you need to be base to base with terrain to be able to shoot past it, essentially. I'm going to quickly clarify that. That was a general rule. I'm not saying you need to be base to base with terrain. It is all about the individual cover lines you will be drawing from your model. There is no generic rule like you need to be within 1 inch of this piece of terrain to shoot through it. It is all about the individual model, okay? Otherwise, I think that's okay. Did everybody get that? Are we all good with that? I see I lost 10 viewers when I started talking about line of sight, so understandable. Yeah. Characteristics. How are modifiers to the movement characteristic applied? Answer: the modifier is applied to the total rather than to each increment. For example, if an operative has a movement characteristic of 3 circle and triangle was added to it, the modified characteristic would be 3 circle, 1 triangle, not 3 circle, 3 triangle. This is an interesting one. Having played the game now, it makes sense. I think this is the correct amount that should be added to the movement, because being able to move an extra square, I mean, that's an extra dash on top. It would be huge for the game. It makes sense. Yeah. I still think the whole movement thing being done in 2 inch increments is kind of odd, but whatever. It's fine. Right. Do modifiers to the movement characteristic affect how far an operative can move when it performs a dash action? Answer, no, unless a rule specifically mentions the dash action. For example, if circle was subtracted from an operative's movement characteristic, it would still move up to square when performing a dash action. However, if a rule states each time an enemy operative performs a dash action, then it would be affected. So this is fair enough. Cool. Yeah, that's nice. It's good to know, especially when you're thinking about injured. So, you know, when you're injured, you lose one circle off of your move generally. This means that, for example, the slower teams, like Necrons, who can be injured, unlike Death Guard, who can't, your movement is removed to one circle, but you can still dash, which is 3 inches, so it's actually further than your normal move, and it's unaffected. Cool. If an operative's action point limit is modified during its activation, will the action points it generated for that activation be affected? Okay, let's do this. No, unless otherwise specified. Action points are generated after determining an operative's order for its activation, so modifiers after that point won't affect how many action points it has for its activation. Modifiers to an operative's APL when it is activated, e.g., if the commando knob uses Get It Done ability on itself, could affect the action points generated, as this happens before it generates action points. Okay, so this is a good clarification because this does come up a lot, and also this little addition here of how the commando knob thing works is also good, because if it hadn't added the modifier to an operative's APL when it is activated to the end, I would have thought that technically a model activates and then anything that it does to itself, any abilities, etc., are used then after it begins its activation. So, for example, things like Commando Knob. Also, I'm thinking specifically of the Dire Avengers banner. No, not the equipment banner. No, not the banner. The Ploy that basically gives a Dire Avenger when you activate it +1 APL. This will work on it, because before I was actually asked that at a tournament. You know, what's your ruling on this Dire Avenger using this ploy? And I said, oh, I let him do it. But in my heart of hearts, I felt I was being against Raw. But I let him do it because it seemed silly. There you go. Moving. If an operative moves onto a vantage point, must its base be wholly on it, or can part of its base be over the edge? So long as the operative can be placed without falling, it's basically over the edge. So this is one that I'm... yeah, okay, fine. Cool. It's okay. I don't mind. Like, yes, it does mean that I kind of want to put, like, a lead weight on one corner of the model's base to be a bit of a knob about it. And this does lead to the main issue being with anything that, the only thing, the arquebus for AdMech. Because it has such a long oval base, you can have it be impossible to hit, essentially. So, but it's fine, whatever. I think this is the correct way of ruling it, even though I kind of don't like it in a sense. But whatever. Personally, I would have preferred that a base must be wholly on a surface. So you can't have any overhang. That's how I prefer. Because then it's nice and clear. There's no way you can mess around with it. It is what it is. Oh, but we're going to have to talk about issues, which is about to come up here. When climbing and dropping, does an operative get any free horizontal movement? No. All horizontal movement must be measured as well. Being within triangle simply qualifies it to begin a climb or drop, but you must still measure the horizontal distance as normal. Therefore, if an operative does not have enough movement to be placed on that terrain feature without falling, or enough to fully move its base off that terrain feature, it cannot complete that climb or drop. So, now, I didn't have a huge amount of time to read what my Discord was saying before I started this video, because I've been busy, fuel crisis, etc. Let's think how this works for a 3-inch high piece of terrain. Your vertical movement climbing up is 2 circle. If you are, 1 inch away from the piece of terrain, you cannot get to the top of that piece of terrain in a single move. Wait, can you? Let's think. No, you can, because your base can overhang. But you won't always be able to. But you can't actually, like, move. You can't complete that climb with your base, because you'll be 1 inch up 2, up 4. Sorry, I'm using inches here. So you'd move across 1 inch, because all increments are rounded up to 1 inch. You can't move less than 1 inch. So you move 1 inch across, 4 inches up, because you can't move less than 4 inches to climb a 3-inch. And then you have 1 more inch to move across, which means you will only have, like, a 32mm base will have an overhang when climbing a standard 3-inch piece of terrain. Now, because they've said that overhangs can occur, that's kind of fine. I don't know. It seems clunky. I kind of don't like it. There you go. That's all I'm going to say. I think that the climbing rules are a little bit obscure in this. You don't have to be base to base with the terrain prior to climbing. Yes, that is correct. That is correct. I don't like it. I don't like it. That's all. Can the fly keyword allow a friendly operative to perform an action in which it moves? Yes. Sorry. To clarify, it's 4 inch. Yes, but you can't move under an inch, so you still have to cover that 2 inch. You don't just get to magically fly up and then move 2 inches. You move the 1 inch, because you still have to cover that horizontal. That horizontal movement, but you can't move under an inch. So you move 1 inch, you climb 4, you move 1 more inch. That means your base can only be 1 inch on top of the thing. They didn't nerf climb distance, they just clarified how it works. It's clunky. I don't like it, that's all. You move 1 inch, then continue the movement up the wall for 1 inch. Nope. Because when you climb, you have to round everything up to circle increments. You thought you saw in the other one that you could now climb 3 inches with only 2 inches? Nope. Unless I haven't got there yet. Unless you're thinking about scalable, that's something completely different. That's to do with the final incremental distance. Has nothing to do with the 3-inch. We'll get to that at the end. There will be question time where you can please correct me. Can the fly keyword allow a friendly operative to perform an action in which it moves that would ordinarily be prohibited while within engagement range of an enemy operative, e.g. a normal move action? No, the rules for fly apply when the operative would be physically moved. However, being within engagement range of an enemy operative prevents the operative from performing a normal move action in the first place. Therefore, it must perform a fallback action to move. So this question was asked very early on in the edition, and I think it's only in there because people were thinking of fly from the old rule set. I don't know if this was needed as a clarification. I'm glad they did. The more questions they clarify, the better, in my opinion. But there you go. How does an operative move across stairs or an angled slope? Just move them. Nice. Yeah. Shooting attacks and fighting in combat. When fighting in combat, some abilities, e.g. Storm Shield and Killteam Compendium, cause a parry to discard 2 of your opponent's successful hits. How does this interact with normal and critical hits? How does an operative not equipped with... Oh, sorry, I skipped the answer. If the operative parries with a normal hit, they select up to 2 normal hits from their opponent to be discarded. If the operative parries with a critical hit, they select they select up to either 2 critical hits, 2 normal hits, or 1 critical hit and 1 normal hit with their opponent to be discarded. Cool. That's how I had assumed it was played. Good clarification. How does an operative not equipped with a melee weapon interact with fighting and combat? Do not select a melee weapon or roll attack dice for it. It cannot provide combat support. Cool. I'm trying to think who doesn't have a melee weapon. The only one I can think of is the Tau DS8 turret. Oh, maybe the drones. Can drones not fight in melee? I don't know. Or no, drones have the ram as their melee weapon, don't they? So just the DS8 turret, I think. Still, a good clarification for future, perhaps. If an operative is incapacitated and is affected by a rule that states it isn't removed from the kill zone yet, blah, 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 what happens when it fights in combat? Specifically in the resolve successful hits step, it states you resolve your successful hits until one operative in that combat is incapacitated. Does that mean the veteran guardsman can't resolve successful hits as it is already incapacitated? Yes. As such, being incapacitated... I need to have a drink of water. Yes. As such, being incapacitated but temporarily remaining in the kill zone will not allow the operative to resolve hits in combat. Okay. This is huge. Oh my gosh. Like, don't get me wrong, this is probably the correct ruling for the way it's worded. And it does tell us that incapacitated is a status effect that your model gains. But like, oh, I need to move closer to this camera, don't I? The lighting's terrible. I'm sorry, guys. It tells us that incapacitated is a status effect that your model gains. But this is a huge nerf to Marines. This is really bad for Marines. Marines were already not doing great. And yeah, this is bad. Don't get me wrong, only Death to Duty End was basically an auto-use on death because it was so good. It basically guaranteed you could kill 1 to 2 models with whoever died. At least that's how I'd used it in the past. Now, fall back and shoot. That's it. Like, no, yeah, I don't know. That's really big. And whilst I think it's probably the right call for the rules, Marines need help. Marines need help. So, if a shooting attack is made against an operative in cover with a 6-up save characteristic, if the defender would retain a defense dice as a result of cover, would it still be a successful normal save, or would it be a successful critical save as they couldn't otherwise roll a normal save? It would still be a successful normal save. Okay, so that makes sense. That's how I had always assumed it. My reading there is that when you retained a dice, you retained a normal save. Just because it was a 6, or as it might sound, a 6 isn't a critical. A critical is something that procs off of a 6 being rolled, but it's not something that is inherently part of it. So, cool. Special rules and critical hit rules. When fighting in combat or making a shooting attack, if an operative has multiple special rules and critical hit rules that would take effect at the same time, in what order are they resolved? The operative's controlling player can choose the order for rules that would take effect at the same time. Note that this is an exception to the usual method of resolving simultaneous rules, in which the player with the initiative determines the order. Also note that if one rule stated in the roll attack dice step and another stated at the end of the roll attack dice step, they do not take place at the same time. The latter must be resolved last. I'm going to read that again because I blanked out. Also note that if one rule stated in the roll attack dice step and another stated at the end of the roll attack dice step, okay, that's cool. I mean, that's a good clarification. That's how I probably would have played it. In the roll attack dice step is not the same as at the end of the roll attack dice step. Good to be done. Good that they clarified it. So I remember that this question was put into my Discord's FAQ channel after there was discussion about, I think, how you resolve, I want to say flayed ones, because they have the ability to, I can't remember what it was, but you give them a piece of equipment and they naturally have rending. and it got very confusing, and you could, if your opponent had initiative, who then got to choose who could, like, in which order things were resolved, you had the ability to, let me get this right, stop their rend from taking effect because you could choose something else to proc first. Something like that. And anyway, they said, no, that's not how it works. Jonas Anderson missed the start of the stream, but thanks a lot for doing this and clearing it up. Thank you very much for the 75 sec, which I think is about £7.50, although with inflation and the Brexit, it's probably a hell of a lot more now. Thank you. So yeah, that's cool. If an operative has a rule that allows it to repeat a specific combat or shooting attack, e.g. as a result of the veteran of the Longbow Tactical Ploy, Trace Space Marines, can it do so if a weapon with the limited special rule was selected for that combat or shooting attack? Yes. In this instance, you could use the weapon again, even if it has the limited special rule. So this one just makes sense to me, because I think thematically, in my mind, the model was never shooting again. It was purely a mechanical thing for, like, they did that first attack with so much hatred in their heart that they get a chance, kind of. I know that another time that this takes effect is with Tyranids. They have something in there that is a limited weapon, and you have the ability to shoot again, and yeah, so there you go. Right. General principles. How do you resolve contrasting rules? For example, the Contagion Strategic Ploy, Death Guard and Chaos Demon, means enemy operatives are treated as being injured, but the Emperor's chosen ability, Talons of the Emperor, means the operative cannot be injured. Now, to be clear, I have already read through this FAQ, and I had no idea which way to go on these, right? But I like this. I like what they've given us here. In such circumstances, cannot takes precedence. I do want to point out that this is actually a kind of common parlance when it comes to Fantasy Flight games. I think in most of their rulebooks, unless I'm making this up, they have a rule that says cannot takes precedence over can, unless it's a specific rule or something like that. Martin Dunn says YouTube needs to let us send super chats in denominations of petrol rations. Firstly, thank you for the 1 litre of fuel that you've just sent me. But you're right. My God, it's insane. Do you know what I'm doing right after this stream? I'm walking to my local petrol station to see if they have petrol. And if they do, I'm running back to my car, getting in my car and driving there, and hoping I have enough fuel, I have 2 miles left in my tank, to wait in line before my car actually runs out of petrol. Brexit was a good idea, guys. Well done. Oh, it's political. Yeah, so that's cool. I think that's pretty good, having a cannot takes precedence. I don't like they said in such circumstances, because now it just means what circumstances? Anyway, in such circumstances, cannot take precedence. The Emperor's chosen ability would prevent the operative from being injured as a result of the Contagion Strategic Ploy. There may be some rules where specific wording overrides this, though. For example, a rule might say the operative is treated as being injured, regardless of any rules that say it cannot be injured. In this instance, the Emperor's chosen ability would not prevent the operative from being injured. Okay, fair enough. So, whenever it says, regardless of any other rules, that thing always takes precedence. And I believe that is actually, going back, that is actually why the Tau stealth suit, camo field, takes precedence over Indirect, because it's regardless of any other rules. Does Overwatch count as an activation? No. Oh, I think this was in place because it interacted in an odd way with Only in Death Does Duty End. Yeah, there you go. Yes, it was. There was a question about, does Only in Death Does Duty End count as an activation? Sorry, does Overwatch count as an activation? Because if so, then if you Only in Death Does Duty and End a model as your final thing before the start of the next turn, because you're out of activations, but then Overwatch occurs, because you are unable to activate the model that only in Death to Duty End does that one die. Also, it means that you can Overwatch with the model that only in Death to Duty End did the thing. So that's kind of good. The Last Star Strider, make heavy incense great again. $2. Thank you very much. You know, I hate to say it, but were heavy intercessors ever good? Or were they just super scary, but turned out to never actually do much? I'm just throwing it out there. I don't even remember the rules for the old game, I'm gonna be honest. I know they were scary, but I don't think they ever won anything. Anyway, if an operative would be injured from more than one rule, are the effects applied more than once? For example, an operative has fewer than half of its wounds remaining and is within square of an Anathema Psychana operative with the Creeping Dread Strategic Ploy, Talents of the Emperor. It's a Sister of Silence, to be clear. No, in such instances, the Creeping Dread Strategic Ploy would have no additional effect on that operative. Okay, cool. So you can't be injured twice, and injured is anything that says the word injured, is my understanding here. So similar to the one above, where it talks about contagion, strategic ploy, which makes an operative count as being injured, that also does not stack with the Anathema Psychana. So injured doesn't stack. Cannot beats can. Regardless of any other rules, beats everything else. There you go. Clip it and ship it. Whatever I just said, I can't remember now. But that worked. Nice. And what did I just say? Injured doesn't stack. That's the only one I can remember. All right, cool. When setting up additional barricades, e.g. the fortify option in the scouting step, can they be set up on a terrain feature? No, unless the terrain feature has the insignificant trait. Okay, cool. So this is a good clarification. I wasn't sure they were going to go this way with it, because if you look at some of the other things you can do in the scouting phase, in the scouting step of, you know, setting up the game, those are pretty strong, and I had kind of viewed that perhaps just the ability to set up one of your barricades on top of terrain was like an additional bonus, but they said no. So there you go. All right, okay, we got the Consecrate Ground thing, have we? The Consecrate Ground Action, Mission 1.2 Consecration, Critical Operations Mission Pack, Kill Team Core Book, modifies an Operative Action Point Limit Characteristic, APL, until the start of the next turning point. As this modifier doesn't generate any additional action points for the Operative's activation, as explained in the characteristics commentary above, what is the effect of this? It means the Operative is better at controlling objective markers and tokens until the start of the next turning point, which is determined by APL. Note that until the start of the next turning point is an exception to the usual APL modifier timeframe, which is usually until the end of the Operative's current or next activation, whichever comes first. Okay. Yeah, I'm happy with that. From my understanding of the rules, this was how it worked. It's fine. It seems a bit odd, but it's fine. I get it. That is correct. The Rob and Ransack my gosh. The Rob and Ransack TAC Op card differs from that presented in the core book. Which one is correct? The one printed in the core book used the card to generate the TAC Op, but used the rules presented in the core book. Cool. Yeah, I mean, obviously. Kill zones for scrap parts range features in Killzone Octaves can an operative perform a dash action in the same activation in which it performs a charge over action, even though a charge over action is treated as a charge action. Yes, that is an exception for that terrain feature. Now, I don't have my Octaves book to hand to read everything out word for word for you, but my understanding on that is that when you do a charge over action, you don't get... So when you make a charge action, you move your movement plus circle. This is kind of a way of getting that plus circle, because when you do a charge over, you don't get a plus circle added to your movement. Instead, you are allowed to make a dash action first, and then charge over. And that's kind of the additional way of getting that little extra movement. There you go. Okay. Oh, we're done. Cool. Oh, well, you know what? We've just hit exactly an hour. Guys, all right. Quickly, chat, do you have any questions for me? Do you have anything that wasn't... Do you think there are any, like, big questions that we haven't had answered yet? If so, obviously, at some point, head on over to my Discord. I'm going to open up the Chownath FAQ quarter, and we can ask all our questions there. I think they... Okay. I think they did pretty well. I'm going to be honest. I think they answered a lot of questions here. I think it's possible that there are some... I mean, I'd have to go back and cross-reference, right? But there are some here that they haven't answered. That's right. Yep. Sorry, 3 Pyro. Yeah. They didn't FAQ the AdMech Hunter Clades, where there's a typo on the number. I think it's the number of attacks that one of the models gets. That's a bit of a downer. I'm not going to lie. That feels like it would have been really easy to just chuck in, like, 2 lines, you know? Anything I think still needs a change? Well, that's talking about balance at that point. I think they've covered all the typos, right? I don't think there are typos left that we need to see, apart from the White Dwarf, sorry. Errata... I think this is it. I mean, look, I'm sure we're going to get more confusing questions come up. But I can't, off the top of my head, I can't think of anything. Certainly when it comes to my experience as a TO and at the 3 tournaments I've been to so far, I haven't seen any questions that came up that this FAQ doesn't answer. It's possible they are there, but they aren't coming to mind. Somebody has asked something about... Where's my tea? I don't drink tea at home. Oddly, I drink tea when I'm at work. So if you ever see me with a tea, I'm recording that bad boy at work. No lie. I've not seen your dad. No. Should you paint Custodes? No. No. Play them bare grey plastic to make sure that people still hate you. They're not going to hate you for your rules anymore, although they might, but now they hate you for your lack of dedication to the hobby and ruining their play experience. That was a joke. That was very dry. I don't care how you play models, to be clear. But yes, I have no idea about Custodes. I genuinely have no clue how much of an effect these changes are going to have. I think 10 Sisters are going to be super strong still. But we haven't seen those played. But I think we're going to see them now. Yeah. Didn't explain why anyone would ever take a Star Cannon. I don't think you would. No. Ute Scoot, you're welcome for the stream. Someone asked, I can't see it now. No, everyone can join the Patreon. Patreon. Gosh. If you want to pay, you can join the Patreon. Everyone can join the Discord, totally free. Just drop in. It's for everyone. Custodes still OP? Yes, no? No clue. They missed the fist on Exarch. What do you mean? Do you not have a fist on your Exarch? Okay. Isn't that because the only reason you wouldn't have... is there no fist on Exarch? My gosh. My gosh. My assumption there is because either you're taking your twin shuriken catapults, in which case you don't have a fist free to hit with, or you're taking a single gun, in which case you're then also taking either your shimmering sword or your glaive thing. So you'd never need a punchy thing, right? Oh, your picks for teams in the next kill team set after Chownath. We've got to get Marines next, right? We need to see Marines. Don't get me wrong. I hate Marines as much as the next guy, as you might see in a video that releases tomorrow. just throwing that out there. Check that out. That's going to be a weird, not kill team related video about Marines. But where are they? Why haven't the reason? Let me tell you why I want Marines. Okay, and I'm not even joking on this one. We want Marines because Marines are always the yardstick that GW measures everything to. They are the default. The current Marines suck. We need to see what the real Marines are going to look like. I'm going to say this again. I don't think Compendium is relevant. Don't get me wrong, that's what we're playing at the moment, but that's not the game we're supposed to be playing. We're playing Compendium to tide us over until we have the full kill team rules. Once we have the full kill team rules, that is the game that GW has been playing. Compendium? Nah. Like, I'm genuinely a bit shocked that they've FAQ'd anything in the Compendium. Like, outside of just errors on typos. Because, seriously, I don't think they care. I don't think they care about Compendium. I don't think we're meant to be playing it. Like, in their mind. Yeah. So, there you go. So, we need to see what the real Marine teams are. Because right now, Marines are in a terrible spot. I haven't done a video about it, unless you're my patrons, but one of the big takeaways from LGT was on day 1, I think. There were 5 Deathwatch players, all running, you know, a kill team of 5 Deathwatch models. In round 3, all 5 of them were in the bottom 8. And the only reason some of them escaped the bottom 8 was because they were fighting each other, so one of them had to win. What the... Like, Deathwatch ain't good, guys. Marines, not good. Just throwing that out there. Day 1, one of the guys was running Reavers. He came, like, bottom 4, I think. Day 2, he played, I want to say Thousand Suns, and came top 8. He wasn't a bad player. Reavers just suck. That's all I'm saying. Okay. Okay, right. I went off on a ramble there. Sorry, guys. Yeah. Okay. Nurgling equipment effect works till the end of the battle. I'm gonna guess not. Because that's an APL thing, and it's very clear when APL takes effect too, but you keep dreaming, buddy. Nightfire Gaming, to be fair, Marines weren't really good in the first kill team. Or at least not obviously so. Like, obviously, they were good, but not if you were a casual player. You had to be really good to make Marines good, and you had to have just the weirdest loadouts. You know? They were good because they had so many options that you could do anything with them, and it was a completely unbalanced way of using Marines and the team in general, because, I mean, obviously they just said, okay, what things do we need to give them because that's what you use them as in 40k? Okay, let's do that. Right. They can use all of that. There you go. And it's like, there was no playtesting done there. Deathwatch is better than regular, right? I'm not sure if that's true. They're probably killier, but I don't know if they're better. And I think the reason I don't want to say they're better is because they have 11 wounds. There you go. 11 wounds is, against quite a few teams, easier to kill than 12 wounds. So, basically, you've almost, if you want to view it that way, got like 5 less actions in the game, throughout the entire game, which is pretty large. Okay, well, it's good to know that some Deathwatch players have done some work, so that's good. We've had discussion thinking Marines will be a thing once Elites comes. Okay. When we get chapter rules, we'll see specialized kill teams for each chapter to keep revenue up for Mindfuck. Okay. Only Death's DTM model stays for VP controlling objective part. End of battle is page 14 in the mission sequence after the end of 4th fire phase. Okay, fair. So the reason I had said that only in Death to Duty End works differently is because I had asked that on my Discord, and they said it worked differently. But I'd have to go and check the rulebook. I'm unsure of that. But the only in Death to Duty End ruling is now very clear. So either way, we can just go and look and see when the round ends versus when you score, and we will know. It's not really a question. That's just my lack of knowledge. So that's easy enough to clear up. I understand line of sight and I understand cover. That's good. I understand obscurity the way they showed in the book. That's good. I just don't get it when you're shooting across the board. That's fair. I don't know how else I can explain it to you. It's relatively simple when it comes to shooting across the board, I think. If you're over 2 inches from a piece of heavy terrain, wherever that piece of heavy terrain, whether it's near to you or whether it's far away, as long as the cover line crosses through it, you are obscured. Does that not answer it? Won't Custodes? I think Marines are better now. Whoa, you think Marines are better than Custodes? That's a hot take if ever I've seen one. That's big. 5 Deathwatch bolters. You know what? I am just writing a script for my Deathwatch video, which is all about why bolter discipline isn't good. So awkward. Obviously, bolter discipline is good. Obviously, but doubt the Custodes nerf will help Astartes at all. Why would the Custodes nerf help Astartes? Oh, right, because it completely rebalances the meta. Yeah, I don't think Marines are good, which is a shame. Musfadar, Deathwatch lose to AP2 weapons. I took 3 fusions on my... Well, don't... You can't compare Marines to literally the best team in the game. Oh, by the way, if this Custodes nerf was effective, I believe that Harlequins are the best team in the game. There you go. If that wasn't obvious from what I just said. Yeah. You got to play him like it's chess. Matthew Murphy, $5, aka 1 liter of petrol. What weapons do you like on the support platform? I like the missile launcher and Right Lance. Got any Eldar tips? Missile launcher. I do. That's not actually true. I like another one. I want to say it's the sun thing. I'm not sure. I generally like missile launchers, though. I think the way they work now is really good in general. It saves spot on your roster, but when it comes to craft worlds, I don't actually know how important those roster spots are. So I don't know if that's important or not. But I don't think the support platforms are good. I don't think Guardians are good. Yeah. Any Eldar tips? Don't ask me. I want to play them, but I haven't had a chance to play for the last 3 weeks. It's killing me, yes. But good news, I actually, despite the fuel crisis, managed to get to work today, and I've picked up my teams and I brought them back with me. And hopefully, this weekend and next, I can actually play some games, finally. Eldar, going to be right at the top there. Eldar and Marines are what I want to currently play. So there you go. Craft, I haven't made any official statement on this because, you know, I want to get more games in. But I believe that Craft Wars are probably the worst team at the moment. There you go. But again, pure speculation. I need to play more. I might change my mind. And I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying they're the worst. Okay? Right. Tactical Marines and Scouts look pretty good. Primaris Marines, not so much. Yeah, so I think that Scouts probably solid. They can do a lot of killing. But, I don't know. I don't like 2 APL and they lose only Death to Duty End. Although only Death to Duty End doesn't matter as much now. Obviously. But, I don't know. Paint Harlequins. Yes. Happen to have got a box of Harlequins out earlier. Nice. Only 1 box of Harlequins, though. I believe you need 2, don't you? Or maybe you won't for long. Who knows? Maybe that's something they've considered. No, you need 2. I might have missed it, but does the cover line go along the ground or in the air? If I stand on a 4-inch vantage point, can I shoot over way lower terrain? Yes. I don't know why this keeps getting questioned. Very clearly, you measure base to base. It is all done in a 3D space. I don't know why people don't think that's the case, but if you measure diagonally, you measure diagonally. If it goes through, if the cover line goes through something in this 2D plane that the cover line is, then it's an issue, but you are measuring base to base in a 3D space with a 2D plane. I hope that made sense. Do you have anything on how to deal with perma cover or silent attacking units that are part of a horde team and playing an elite? No. I don't at all. Screwed. So obviously if you have access to grenades, grenades get around, like one of the main things is gene stealers. Grenades get around that, where vantage points don't, so it's fine. Platform with right lance and Custodes, it's good to know, but why are these Custodes letting them shoot you? That's my question. Yeah, I think one of the big things that people have to figure out is how to attack things that you are unable to shoot normally. This means there are obviously Gene Stealers, there's also Harlequins, and there's Grey Knights that all have access to this very easily, either as a ploy or a natural built in special rule. And how you deal with them is a big part of learning the game, I think. I think that for beginners, these are the big scary things, because suddenly you're like, wait, I can't even shoot you? Huh? And like, I think that going from beginner to intermediate, figuring this out is how you kind of become a more competent player. And the way it's done, I hate to say this, is you just flank. You just get better at the game. You get better at movement. That's it. But then you have to consider, are you playing, like, how dense is the terrain on the board? If you genuinely cannot flank, then perhaps you need to reconsider how dense your board is. Yeah. Because to be clear, that's how those armies are balanced. They're very easy to kill if you get to shoot them because they're elite, or they don't have that many wounds, or they have a bad save, etc. But if you shoot them, they just melt. So, yeah. I want to get Harlequins, but oh, I've lost it. Damn, I scrolled. Celebrating October with a Greenskins kill team. What's wrong with Commandos? I think Commandos are looking great. Out of the Marine fire teams, which ones do you think are best right now? Ah, man, I don't even know. I don't even know. I'm gonna say Infiltrators. There you go. Infiltrators. Lethal 5-up is super strong. You all have the same gun, so you are able to maximize bolter discipline to get some really strong turns, and you have access to smoke grenade. I'm not saying it's a good team. I'm saying it's a really solid team. There you go. Otherwise, I'd like to say Deathwatch or standard. The issue with Deathwatch is you've basically, it's tactical Marines actually. It's tactical Marines. You know what? I think tactical Marines are boring, but I might just run my 6 Deathwatch guys as tactical Marines. That sounds way more fun to me. But yeah, I think Infiltrators are pretty solid actually for Marines, not compared to anything else. 4 sniper shooter concealed, yes. Worst craft world or Kroot? Craft world. I don't think there's anything wrong with Kroot. What's wrong with Kroot? Not seeing many people playing GSC in tournaments. What am I missing? Nothing. I think you're just not looking, my good sir. LGT had GSC playing on the top tables. There were 2 GSC players on day 2 playing at the top tables. So yeah. Killteam will be more popular than 40k now. You can't load the army into the car. That's true. That's true. Huge resurgence or insurgence of Killteam popularity due to fuel crisis because nobody can drive their armies anywhere in 40k. That's possible. That can be GW's next marketing tactic. Eldar very good. Okay. Cool. I mean, yeah, to be clear, it's possible Eldar are very good. Suddenly Janice, who's one of the play testers for the game, just took... she either won or she came second in a tournament. So, you know, they have the ability to be played well. Scouts, the tools you use versus Quins. Sure, makes sense. Okay. Are Deathwatch actually good? I don't think so. No. Plasma gun, missile launcher, sergeant, 3 bolter boys. Okay. Not yet. Alright. Well, that's very nice, Ed. But I'm in the southeast with 1 mile left in my tank. I'd love to escape London. I can't. I'm stuck. Okay, everybody. Alright. I think we've dragged this on long enough. We've dragged this on 20 minutes after I stopped reading the rules. So I'd just like to say thank you to everybody. I hope this has been useful. I've got a video coming out tomorrow that I haven't done yet, but so I'm going to do it right now. Oh wait, will I? Crap, I can't do it but the green screen's not working, so I can't do it actually. Disaster. I'll have to figure out how I do that tomorrow morning. It's going to come out sometime tomorrow, though. It's about Marines. It's about my hatred for them. It's about me insulting Games Workshop. And I just generally say a lot of bad things, like how I don't like John Blanche artwork. And how it's kind of weird that the community keeps circle jerking Black Templars so much. So tune into that and get ready to downvote. Because I know everybody loves John Blanche artwork. I could say anything else apart from anything anti-John Blanche artwork. Everybody would be fine with it, but my god. Oof. Tyranids. I think Tyranids are super strong. I think they're one of the top teams. I think Drukhari as well. And I think Harlequins. I think those are my top 3 teams at the moment. But I have to go think about it. Yes, please hit that like button and check out my Patreon and all that good stuff and leave a comment and blah, 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 blah. Cool. When will I host my first Glass Half Dead tournament? Great question. I have no clue. In the summer, I guess, like 6 months. Something like that. Alright, thank you very much, everybody. This has been great. This has been Glass Half Dead. Thank you for watching live. If you're watching live, if you're watching later, thank you for watching the whole thing. I know this dragged on somewhat at the end. My bad. I hope that I managed to provide at least some sort of valuable insight to the rules when I read over them. And I will see you tomorrow or perhaps another time. If you don't want to hear me complaining about Black Templars, I guess. Oh, okay. One final question. How does the heavy keyword work? Does it mean you can't move at all in a turn if you want to make a shoot action, or you can move and then shoot it? So, yeah, it just means you can't move, but you can dash. So there you go. So basically, you can make half a move. Easy peasy. And you can still fire Overwatch with it. Because that's happening outside of an activation. Alright. Goodbye, everybody. This has been Glass Half Dead. You've been chat. You've been awesome. I have been unable to